All right, this is Math 2, Unit 11, Lesson 5. Some homework help today for today's homework assignment. We are doing factoring today and putting our equations into x squared plus bx plus c. That's the format we have, and we're going to take it from that and put it into our two groupings like so, and be able to go back and forth today between those two forms is the idea. The first section here says complete is they're basically kind of helping you out a little bit by giving you the idea of where to start. In your class perhaps today they talked about looking at this last term, the 18, and deciding what are the factors of 18 that will allow you to multiply them together, two numbers you can multiply together to get 18 and then add those same two numbers to get 9. So basically what we're saying is I want a number A times a number B that will give me 18, and then the same number A added to B that will then give me 9. That's what I'm looking for in these types of equations. And so when I look at my factored things, I know that 18 can be broken apart as 18 times 1. I know it can be broken up as 9 times 2, and also 6 times 3. So I have three different ways that I could actually break that number apart and factor that out there. So what I want to do from here then is recognize that, okay, which one of these two pair of numbers could I then add together to give me 9, and that's going to be the 6 and the 3. Now that's the idea of what we're doing in this problem. Now they already give you the 3 to start with, and all they're asking you to do is figure out what number times 3 will give you 18. And that's the simple thing they're asking you to do here. They're not asking you to do this part for this first section, although you'll need to get there by the time we get down a little further. For now, they say, well, we want to get to 18, so 3 times what number will get you to 18, and 3 plus what number will add up to 9. And the answer there, of course, would be 6, because 3 times 6 is 18, and 3 plus 6 is 9. All right, do the same thing down here for number 3. They already gave us a 5, so I asked myself, 5 times what gives me 30? Well, 5 times 6 gives me 30. And then to check this out, just do 5 and 6 add up to give me 11. The answer there is yes. So my other answer of this box is going to be 6. Looking at the next one here, I have 15. They gave me the number 5, so I know I'm going to be multiplying with a 5. 5 times what gives me 15? 5 times 3. And I have 5 times 3. When I put those together, I do end up with an 8. So I can put a 3 right here. Now I'm going through this rather quickly, and I'm not right now concerned about the minus, the plus, but I will be concerned about those as I move further down this worksheet. For now, they're just wanting to help you get the hang of breaking apart this last term into two parts that will multiply to give you 15 and add together to give you 8. So 72 breaks apart, they gave us an 8 already, to 8 and 9, and 8 plus 9 give me a 17, so the term that's missing here is 9. So then when I move down to the second section and they want to work on factor the expression and check your answer, it's the same idea, except now of course they don't give me the hint, the little clue we had before. So I have to ask myself, what can 8 be broken up into what two terms multiply together to make 8, but also add together to make 6. So this is where my choices come in. I have 8 and a 1, and I have a 4 times 2. And at that point, I can recognize that 4 and 2 can combine nicely when I add them to give me 6. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my two sets of parentheses. I have a g as my initial term for both of them because g squared. And I know that I'm going to end up with a positive 8. So because it's positive, I'm going to do 4 times 2. And to make it positive, either I would do 2 addition signs or 2 subtraction signs. So that's where I look at my middle term and recognize that my middle term is also positive, which means that this will be a positive 4 and a positive 2. To check my answer, if I want to check that out there, I could do the distributive method, and I could look and see that's g times g is g squared. I have 2g here. I have 4g there. 2g plus 4g is 6g, and 4 times 2 is 8. So I could check it out. I could also check it out with the box method if you wanted it to see if you have this right here. I have g plus 4, and I have a g plus 2, and so g times g is g squared. I have 4g, I have a 2g, and I have an 8. And so when I combine the middle terms together, I still end up with a 6, so I'm okay. So the box method could also be used to check either way you want to go there. So a lot of time on that one problem I know, but that's the idea. So let's look at the next one real quick. 10 can be broken apart into, 24, number 10, 24 can be broken apart into 24 times 1. It could also be a 12 times 2. It could be a 6 times 4. And I'm going to stop here because 6 and 4 combine together to give me the middle term of 10. So we'll break this apart, and we have a y, and I have a 6 and a 4. It's a positive final term, so these would either be both positive or both negative, but because the middle term is positive, it's just going to be two positive numbers there. For number 11, same idea. I have 35 this time, and 35, for me, the first number that pops in my head for 35 is 7 times 5. And because I know 7 and 5 can be added together to give me 12, and that's the middle term, I'm going to go ahead and use 7 and 5. My first term is still r, and the last one becomes 7 and 5. Again, it's positive, so is the middle term, so these will also be positive. So those are positive ones there. Let me look at number 13 because you can see now I have a negative answer there. So I look at something like 60. There are a lot of things to 60. I know I need to get to 16 in my addition of terms here. And so knowing that I want to get to 16, I'm really not going to be focused on a 60 and a 1. You know, if I do the whole process, I do 60 times 1. I do half of it. I cut this in half and double that, and I get 30 times 2. I cut that in half and double that, and I get 15 times 4. Now I get stuck like, well, I can't cut that in half, so I can't do any more. No, there actually are more. It ends in a 0, which means that 5 goes into it as well. So 12 times 5, that works as well. Like, oh no, now what did I do? Well, you can kind of keep going up. 1, 2, we skip 3, we have 4, 5. Does 6 go in there? Yeah, 6 goes in there 10 times. And so this is kind of the annoying part of factoring. If you know your math facts well, you can quickly go, oh, 60 is 10 times 6, which gets me right away to 16, because 10 plus 6 is 16. But if you don't see that quickly, you will need to probably go through a process to get to the numbers you're looking for. And sorry, there's just no shortcut way to do that. It's just a matter of learning your math facts and being able to recognize that quickly. So I know the x's are there. I know I have a 10 and I have a 6. My answer has to be positive 60. When I multiply these together, I need a positive 60. But if I make this a plus and that a plus, I'm going to end up with a 6x and 10x for a positive 16x, and I want a negative 16x. So to make that negative, I need to have a negative 10x and a negative 6x, and because a negative times a negative is a positive, this works out just fine in that case there. So if I was to check my answer, I end up with x squared minus 6x minus 10x plus 60, and again those combine together to give negative 16x. So there are times when I'm going to have negatives on the inside there as well. 78 is a little funny little number here, and so 78 breaks apart. Again, I could look at it and say, well, 78 is 36 times 2, it's going to be 18 times 4, it also happens to be 13 times 6. And 13 plus 6 equals 19, so that's the number I'm going to look for. It's another example where my initial term will be h, I have my 13 and my 6, and because my middle term here is negative and the outside term is positive, I have to have the same signs to get that positive answer, so it's going to be a negative, negative, and negative 13, negative 6 for here. All right, moving down to the third section here. It wants you to complete these, and once again, they give you the initial term here, so they're really helping you out. So all you're really having to do here is say, what number times 3 can give me 24, that I can combine somehow to get 8. I'm sorry, to get 5. So the answer, sorry. In that case here, this case here, it would be 3 times 8 is 24, and I can combine them to get 5. The difference between this problem and the previous ones is now that last term is negative, that tells me that I'm going to have a minus, a subtraction, and an addition terms here. I'm going to have a subtraction part and an addition part, and so when I put these together, I'm going to get a different type of term. So let's look, for example, at the outsides. The outsides are 8g, and the insides are minus 3g. So 8 minus 3 comes up with that 5. So now it's not just a matter of I added those together. Now it comes down to, okay, I'm going to have to do some addition or some subtraction sometimes to make this work. And that's what starts making the process a little more complicated as you go through this. This next one we have the number 9 already. So look at the last term, and I'm going to be doing 9 times 5 to get 45. And I'm going to do 9 minus 5, that gives me 4. So this becomes a plus 5 and a minus 5. Plus 9 and a minus 5, which they already gave me to fill that space in there. 60, again they gave me a 5, and I know I have to have a negative 7, so 5 times 12 gets me to 60, and to have a negative 7, I'm going to want that to be a negative 12 because it's large, and that to be a positive because when I combine those two things together, I end up with a negative 7. So this becomes a minus 12 right there. And again, the minus is already there, so I don't need to write it, but it's there for you to see. Okay, let's look on the back side here. Just some more samples here, and this is really just practice. And I know at this point you're probably thinking to yourself, it's more the same thing, does it ever end? It's just something you just want to get used to doing. The more you practice this, the better you're going to become at seeing the patterns and seeing how things work here. So our first strategy is to take a look at the 5 and recognize that 5 can be broken apart into 5 times 1, and that's pretty much it. So when I look at my factoring process, I'm going to have an x at the beginning, and I know I have 5 and 1. I'm going to have a negative answer, so that means I'm going to have, when I have a negative answer, I'm going to have one positive side and one negative side. And I have to figure out which is which. To do that, I look at the middle term. I need to have a negative 4 by the time I'm done, so I'm going to make this a negative 5 and that a positive 1 because a negative 5 plus a 1 gives me negative 4. So that's my solution for that one there. Let's just kind of jump around a little bit here. I go down to 24. 27 is formed by making 9 times 3. That's how I get 27. Again, math fact there. And I know that I can get 9 and 3 combined to either add or subtract to make a 6. So when I break apart and factor my terms here, I put the m in the front, a 9 and a 3. And again, I have a negative 6 as my answer, so I'm going to want to do a negative 9 plus 3 because negative 9 plus 3 gives me negative 6. For 44 is 11 times 4. That's the basic one that I recognize. And I know that 11 minus 4 can give me 7, but I want it to be a negative 7, so I'll do a negative 11 and a positive 4 to give me a negative 7. So now let's put that back into our little puzzle. I have a C and a minus 11 and a positive 4. So a little bit is just kind of playing with the numbers to see what works. Same here for 55. 55 is 11 and times 5, right? 11 times 5 is 55. And then 11 minus 5 gives me 6, but I want a negative 6. So if I was to make this a negative 11 and that a positive 5, those two combine to give me a negative 6. So I'll go ahead and write that out there. So I have j minus 11 and j plus 5. Again, if I want to check the work, I do the outsides, 5j, and the insides, minus 11j, combine them, and that gives me negative 6j, just to check that out to make sure I got that right there. The other problems are all very similar as well, and that's kind of the idea of what we're going to do there. So let's do a couple more just in case you want a few more as we're going through. I'll go down to the outside column. If you're good there, you can probably stop. If you need some more, here we go. So we have a 9 times 8. I recognize it's negative, so I'm going to have the bigger number be negative, the small number be positive. and break it apart into z minus 9 and z plus 8. For 12, I have lots of options, 12 and 1. I have 6 and 2. 6 and 2 can combine to give me 4. So I want a negative 4, so I'll do a negative 6 and a positive 2. And break that apart, v minus 6 plus 2 for that one there. 6 is 6 times 1, that works. But 6 times 1 doesn't combine to give me 1, so I can't use it. I can also do 3 times 2. 3 times 2 can combine to give me 1. Now again, don't be in a hurry here. Sometimes you just kind of get on a roll. You got to be careful. I want a positive 1, which means my 3 needs to be positive, and my 2 needs to be negative, so I have 3 minus 2. And I've been kind of going quickly through these. Because all these last terms are negative, it just, again, tells me that my terms, or my signs in the middle of these two terms will be opposite. I'll have one positive, one negative. Now the order I put them in, that does determine the middle term, so be careful about that. And for 11, 11 is 11 times 1, no other way to make 11. I want to have a negative 10 at the end, so that will be a negative 11, and that will be a positive 1 when I separate that out. So I have n, 11, 1. I want that to be negative 10, so let's make that larger. Negative 11, positive 1, and that's it. Looking at a couple of your word problems here, your word problems are good practice because, again, like I've been saying, these are the kind you'll see on your test for Unit 11. So the area of a rectangle is given by the trinomial x squared minus 4x plus 8. The window's length is x minus 8. What is the window's width? What they're asking you to do here is they're saying, okay, you have x minus 8. That's going to multiply by the area's, the width. I'm just going to write a giant W right here for now. That, when I multiply that out, it's going to equal x squared minus 14x plus 48. That's where I'm going to end up at. So what they're asking you to do is to figure out what are the two terms that go here and here that allow you to end up with that as your solution. So we know it's going to be an x in the front. That's a given because we have to have an x squared, so that's okay. And so now it's about, this is just like your problem that you did earlier where they gave you one term and you're just guessing what is this other missing one. So what number times 8 gives you a positive 48? I have a negative 8 there, so negative 6 gives me a positive 48. And when I check my outsides and my insides, negative 6x plus a minus 8x gives me a minus 14x. So my answer is negative 6. Okay? Use some similar things here with number 34, and that's kind of the idea there. All right? So I'll let you guys figure out some other ones here, do those on your own, but these are great ones to work at and kind of persevere through. So I'm not going to solve these for you, but I think they're great questions, and so be ready for those on your test as well. Have a good day.